Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this APPI continuing series, which we do generally on the first Wednesday of every month. And these really are focusing on ARV, Associative Remote Viewing, and Learn by Doing. And I always have a relevant topic that I like to explore. And this one is love is the heartbeat of the whole universe. Have to love that phrase. Love is the heartbeat of the whole universe. And I'm going to connect that with this very important concept of entanglement and entanglement energy and love. Our outline, the agenda today is I will do for newbies and oldies alike discussion of ARV, and then we'll get into the topic. And in particular, I want to take on what I think is a very important application of this, and that has to do with the privacy of mind. As more and more of us get into the Psi world and as we expand this into society, I think the biggest fear is loss of privacy of the mind. Unfortunately, we're getting used to, with the internet and hacking, how we lose privacy often in that fashion. But what about somebody being able to get into your mind? And we're going to talk about that and actually build something which I think can help. And if people feel comfortable that indeed they can protect the privacy of their own mind, I think that'll actually make it easier to get into this new paradigm shift, the consciousness paradigm shift. Now, there's no there's no feedback session today because the open ones are still several days away from coming due. So we may do 2 next month. And we will be doing a new ARV prediction for a month or more. So I'm going to turn off my video. And so now let's talk about associative remote viewing in linear time. So time goes this way. ARV begins with the remote viewing session, and the whole point turns out to be entanglement. That's why entanglement and entanglement energy is so important, with the feedback session, which occurs later in time. So the tasking is really quite simple in principle. Describe and or sketch your feedback target. So when you do your remote viewing session, and indeed we're going to be doing one later, that's just simple tasking. So this is when you remote view, remote sense the target that you will see and experience during your feedback session. So this is a direct application of precognition. You're pre-knowing something from the future. So that's sort of what precognition means. But entanglement indicates that cause and effect can go both ways. From the feedback session, you are going to be putting in energy, which is somehow, and we do not understand this, but somehow share information with the remote viewing session. So here you're going to be describing and sketching the actual target that you see. You're going to be putting energy in it, a loving energy, entanglement energy, because this is the truth point. Okay, so you have the actual target and your RV transcript right in front of you here, and yet in a retrocausal fashion. And there are now conferences called retrocausality, where their perspective is that from the future, you can send information back into the past. But they're really the same because they're intimately coupled. Precognition, this is the perspective when you're at your remote viewing session, retrocausality during the feedback session. Okay, so there you've got the broadest definition, but how do you make this usable? This becomes usable because in between the remote viewing session and the feedback session is an analysis judging session, which actually also occurs before a specific event, which is involved in all of this when we do the tasking. We're doing binary ARV, so that means 2 choices. In the past, we've done up to 20 choices, but we found the best, in our opinion, is to just focus on 2. Let's get that down pat. So there's always a binary ARV question. We may couch it for financials and something like, will the stock move up or will the stock move down? Will the stock move up? But that's like a yes or no, right? We might put it in for sporting events. Will team 1 win? Yes or no. Team 1 doesn't win, then team 2 will win. Sometimes we show team 1 or team 2. But the key is it's binary. This analysis judging occurs before the outcome is known because this is where the prediction is made. Based on analyzing and acting as a judge to this session, we will make a prediction. Now, since there are 2 questions, doesn't it make sense that there would be 2 possible, key word here, possible targets? Guess what? One of those possible targets will be associated with yes. The other one will be associated with no. So the actual target shown during the feedback session will always, shouted in capital, will always be associated with the actual yes or no, the correct answer. We often refer to this as the actualized target based on what happens during the event that's being queried here. So, believe it or not, that's ARV. In principle, it is not complex at all. It just uses precognition. In comes a judge. If a judge gets a really good match, say with the no target, right? 2 targets, there's no preference for yes or no. The targets are chosen randomly, made different according to several people's judgments. So if a no comes in, then an appropriate investment or wager can be made. Then comes the actual event, and then there you go. You have your feedback session, and you'll know whether you're right or wrong. Okay. Now, I want to do one other thing before I stop. Well, I guess 2 other things. First, I want to emphasize that what we're doing is purposeful precognition. It's not something like a deja vu or the phone rings and you just know who it is and it's someone you haven't talked to for 20 years and his name, an image pop into your mind, and indeed it's him. That indeed is precognition, but that's more spontaneous. What we're about here is purposeful. So that's why we set up our taskings and you do your remote viewing. The cue, just as we said, it's describe and sketch and then we use a 6-digit coordinate. Other people use letters and numbers combination. It doesn't matter. Key thing here is that our targets are what we call photo sites. They're photos of physical sites, but more. A photo site refers to a particular site location at the particular time the photo was taken, okay? But consciousness is expected to move, and consciousness does that all the time. When you look at a picture, part of your consciousness actually goes to the site. And so here, your consciousness is expected to move, encouraged to move, to go to that site at the time the photo was taken, and to describe and or sketch what can be, this is key, readily verified or inferred from the photo. And of course, the reason we want this readily verified or inferred from the photo is because that's what the judge will be seeing. The judge is going to be seeing the photo. It recognizes it's a photo site, so it would love to get sounds, all the things which your nervous system can do to make the judging easier between the two pictures. But it can't use something that's outside of the frame of the picture unless it's easily inferred. And so that's what makes this a photo site. And what comes in for your newbies are first impression gestalts tend to come in first. You know, if there's a big mountain, you get a feeling of maybe big, heavy, mountain, tallish kinds of stuff. Or if it's an ocean scene, you might get a feeling of water. Those are like the first impression gestalt. Sometimes the color can even be a first impression gestalt. You know, if it's filled with reds, most of the frame is filled with reds. Wow, red might come in. So there are different things which can be first impression gestalts. But then in addition to them, your entire nervous system is available for your subconscious mind, for your consciousness to activate. And so, yeah, you can get visuals, those are colors, shapes, dimensions, sounds, smells, tastes. You might actually get tactile sensations in your body that there'll be a sense that it's actually because you're at the target now. You can feel emotions. Anything that your nervous system, that your normal system will give you, will now come up during your remote viewing session, or can come up during your remote viewing session. So describe and sketch your feedback target. And the target is a photo site, including all of these kinds of realities, which are far more than you get from just a two-dimensional picture. Now, I want to use this slide because purposeful is emphasized here in such a wonderful, positive way. And that is how we are always doing this, and you should always be doing it. Feeling really good, feeling loving, right? That you're doing this with positive spirit. All of this is beautiful. Be happy, be intuitive, be wise. You always want to have this kind of positive point of view, positive perspective going on. Just makes sense, and it makes things work better. Now, this old saw is true. Practice, 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 like a doctor or a shaman. They just keep doing it. And every time they do another one, they really see it as potentially getting a little better at it. That's why it's called a practice, you know? And you just keep doing it. Joe McMonagle, 6 out of 7 days a week, he does remote viewing sessions. I'm not recommending that for everybody. Everybody, the remote viewer themselves are in charge, but he certainly feels like doing a lot of it is helpful. Now, here's the other point which I want to make. Each of you are an individual. Each viewer is obviously unique, and each viewer's session is going to be unique based on their personal history. Now, let me just go through some transcripts here, so you'll see the variation, and you'll see the way information comes through with real remote viewers like you. These were all done by people who started just like you, came into app, and some of them had been trained, some of them had not. They've been trained in remote viewing. Here's where the ARV training typically comes. Now, here is a coordinate, 6-digit coordinate, just like we discussed. This was a multi-page transcript, so the name is not on here. You'll see others with the name. The point I want to make here is this was precognitive. Here is the target. So AOL stand for analytical overlay. That's the stuff which comes from the intellectual part of your mind. The analytical. Notice helicopter came in after getting a sense of a vehicle and swirling. This stuff came in through the subconscious. And one of the really important things, and this is important for many other things in your life, is the distinction between what's coming from your subconscious, your deep subconscious, versus what's intellectual. Nothing wrong with the intellect, but it would be valuable to understand which is which. And so, as you can see here, analytical overlay, helicopter came in, not accurate, but you could see how the vehicle, the idea maybe even of a helicopter came in, spiraling downward. Wood colored, actually picked up the color there, but okay. Here's another one. Notice here, got the geometry here, got the sense of, well, the valley, channel flow, and I think it's just interesting. Take note of what's here. It looks at first like a bit of a flower pot, I'm not sure. This person was trained in remote viewing, and that's what the ABC stands for. We won't go into that. You do not need full-up training to do ARV. You'll get everything you need from what we're doing. If you want to go into the more details of remote viewing, hey, that's fine. And this, in fact, will help you with that. But here, notice this, the comparisons. Interesting. The idea here is just report what your subconscious provides. If your intellect gives you something, that's fine too. Write it down. You want to get everything on, for ARV, 1 or 2 sheets of paper. Some people still will do 10, 20 sheets of paper because they like to practice their original remote viewing. Here's another transcript. Dark-skinned man. You can see the dark, and they're not exactly accurate. By the time it comes up from you know, the very deep place where this precognition is working through your subconscious, you can see there it gets close. It's like there are analogies, there are metaphors, and that's what you should expect too. Notice you don't get the exact words. You know, nobody got bungee jumping, and you wouldn't want that. You don't want names. You want lower level words. Also, I want to point out here, this is the sound of fabric flapping in the wind. This shows that you can pick up sounds very nicely, and we see that all the time. People pick up sounds, pick up smells when they're there. And then here is, I believe, the last one. Notice the sound again showing up in this case in the form of a drummer. But the spikes here looks like a person. In the AOL area, porcupine, plant, arrow, drum. Very nice that they showed that distinction. And there's just a different feeling when it comes from the intellectual side as opposed to the subconscious. So sharp edge, downward peaks, the whole sketches are really good, and they're usually partial, sometimes mixed up like this. Whenever you see a visual image, please note it, because visual images are not analytic. They're really coming from another part of the mind. So just report what your sub provides. Don't think, analyze, minimize your thinking and analysis. And yes, if you get some, and you will, put them on the right side here as an AOL. Just trust yourself that you're going to be getting good information. You might get some AOL information, get it all down on a piece of paper. The kind of words, I indicated this before, you don't name, you really are describing. And that means the kind of words you saw in those examples, the kind of words you get here, certainly you get the colors, sounds, banging, whooshing, dimensions. You're not going to hopefully get Eiffel Tower, though sometimes those AOLs are right, and if you get Eiffel Tower, put it down. But what you really want from the subconscious is tall, big, metallic, those kind of descriptive words. That's what I believe all you need to know at the intellectual description level about ARV. Are there any questions, comments? Anybody need clarification? You feel pretty good about it? Okay, let me move on. Let's go to here. Love is the heartbeat of the whole universe. And my job here is going to make it really clear that entanglement energy and love are intimately, if you will, connected. This was all set off when my wife and I went and saw Met live, but it was at an AMC theater. And this is a quote from La Traviata. Love is the heartbeat of the entire universe, mysterious, noble, cross and delight of the heart. And then Violetta responds, oh, love, follies, follies, revel, revel, I must always be free. This was another one which I found. This goes back, Beverly Sills was a very famous opera star. I like this one a little better to use for two reasons. One is love is the heartbeat of the whole universe. I like that. But madness, pleasure, pleasure. I must always be free. The freedom part, free will, all of that is deeply embedded in everything that we do. And free will always occurs in the now moment. But notice, with love, she's bringing in madness. And this cross was kind of a negative here. And that's something which we're now going to get into and which needs to be understood. Love, in the sense we're talking about it, is complicated. Love scorn, for example. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But I want to put this love into this deepest context, at least that I know about. And it fits here because I'm going to use this context in our examples, including the privacy of the mind example. Now, we come, as you all know, from the place where consciousness is fundamental. And we use this universe of collective consciousness model. So let's take the point of view that this blue circle has everything in it that consciousness touches. So this is the deepest, most fundamental level you can imagine for consciousness. If consciousness in any way, shape, or form touched something, it's in here. You know, infinite number of points in here, it's in here. When you consciously know about the screen you're looking at right now, you know, at one level we think of it as physical, and it is physical, but it's the consciousness moments of your experience with it that's down at the UCC level. Okay? The whole physical world, as we know it, is down here as well. We'll say a little bit more about that. Now, you have to ignore this outer boundary. And I think that's pretty easy to get because this is really a circle without a boundary, because if you even imagine, if you come up with, if you think of something that is outside the boundary, well, you've immediately touched it with your consciousness. And that's true of any sentient being anywhere in the universe. So when I talk about this having anything and contains everything, I really mean that in the broadest possible sense. That is the UCC. Now, no boundary implies no separations. This is like the ultimate in oneness and harmony. This is maybe pure spirituality. I don't know how to go any deeper than this, and if you do, please, let's talk about it at some point in time. But at this point, this is what the UCC is. It contains everything consciousness touches: past, present, future. Right? In fact, time, the very idea, the very concept of time is in the UCC. So is space. Those things are all in there because consciousness has touched them. Now, how they come together, that's an interesting question, right? Well, that's going to get to entanglement. Now, once you get that things cannot ever be completely separated from the UCC, everything must have, I don't know what words to use, but I use the word fuzzy boundary, right? We're trying to make it separate, okay, but we know it isn't, because at the UCC level, there is no such thing as a boundary. So what does this do? This immediately introduces uncertainty. How is this fuzzy boundary connected to the UCC? And entanglement is introduced right here, because this thing is somehow still fully entangled with the UCC, since you can't completely separate it, since you can't completely separate anything. So entanglement now is introduced in some fuzzy way through this fuzzy boundary. So entanglement is a thing in here now, since I've introduced this idea. It's in here. But let's talk now about entanglement energy. Okay, I've introduced that concept because, and it gets introduced right here with entanglement, because we have a communication channel. This thing is somehow communicating with the full UCC, and it's doing that with some sort of energy which needs to be introduced to maintain this illusion of separateness. The screen you're looking at, whether it's a smartphone or your monitor or your iPad, that appears to be separate from everything else. You know, you seem to have a physical boundary on it. Okay, that illusion of separateness takes energy. I mean, to be in the physical world, to come from this UCC and be in this physical world takes energy. That's what this entanglement energy is. It maintains this illusion of separateness. All coming in at the very fundamental level. Uncertainty principle is one of the main principles in quantum mechanics, as is entanglement. Okay. Now, guess what? Your conscious mind, that's the thing with a fuzzy boundary. You know, we can try to define it. We're working on it. We may not understand it, but as much as we do understand it, it's a thing with a fuzzy boundary. Guess what? So is your subconscious mind. I'm liking to call it subby. I don't know when I first heard that many years ago, but it's sort of cool. You know, it's friendly. Your subconscious mind is part of you. It should friend with you. It's a thing. And they are entangled through the fuzzy boundary. I don't always have to draw the arrow. Sometimes I do, like here, to really emphasize it. But the fuzzy boundary goes down to the UCC directly, and it's connected to this. But when I put it in a form like this, it means this is now considered to be the most important aspects of it under current discussion, which is what we're doing now. So any two things, you know, here we use the conscious mind and the submerged consciousness. These are entangled through the fuzzy boundaries in the UCC. The entanglement energies of each of these things combine to entangle them together. And I wish I could get more quantitative about that, but I can't. But in a way I can, and I will do that shortly. But you'll see it's not purely quantitative like most models, and that's one of the reasons scientists have a lot of trouble. There are no quantitative models out there for explaining this. But I'm going to show you one which at least I think deals with it. Okay, here's another way, again, using fuzzy boundaries. Notice the big blue here. So now deep in the UCC, I use this I-psi symbol for you when you're intending to be in your psi space, your psychic space, your deep space. And in that space, I like to break you up into two things, into your conscious mind. And you must understand your conscious mind is just the now moment awareness. When you really think about it, everything that you do in the physical world, walking across the street, as well as the psychic stuff, the psi stuff you do, they're all done in conscious moments, one after another in some fashion. They merge together in some fashion. Hard to even quantify how long the now moment is. So it has a fuzzy boundary around it, but you've experienced this all the time. You're experiencing it now as you're listening to my words, your now conscious moment. Everything else is the way, at least I think, about my own and your I-psi. The subconscious mind is everything else. It's submerged. It's not in this very conscious moment, but it's everything else. So that your conscious moments come from, if you will, the subconscious mind, your subby. And of course, these are intimately connected. Okay. Is there other stuff in here? Sure. That you might want to make important, like your physical body and all kinds of other stuff. But for the purposes of psi, I think thinking about it like this makes good sense. Love is the heartbeat of the whole universe. Now, I see this as a metaphor for love in the physical, vibrating universe. Heartbeat, vibrations, right? Love itself is a thing, right? In the UCC, right? It's an idea when it's way down in the UCC. The physical universe is also really an idea in the UCC. The ideas of mass, time, physics, equations, space, energy, all of that kind of stuff. All of that, the equations of motion, Newton's equations, equations of quantum mechanics, those are all ideas. They're down there, right? Past, present, future models that we haven't even discovered yet that are probably better than the quantum mechanics models. They're down there already. They're down there already too. The UCC has all of that. I've introduced this idea of a new color again. I've done this before just to get the focus now, to show that the physical universe, I want us to focus on love in it and the physical universe itself. But now I want to introduce you, the I psi. This is what makes it real to us, is your connections between your conscious mind, the now moments that you experience, and you experience them in a physical universe. But it's coming from much deeper than that, and that's what you have to realize. And then your subconscious mind. It's those two that make the feeling of love real in the physical universe. So love as a conscious awareness experience in the physical universe. That's what you get to do. Isn't that cool? And I think it's pretty clear. It starts in utero. And, when we say you in the physical universe, I think that genetic vibrations is a unifying background kind of vibration. You get the sense of vibration in the broadest sense that you can imagine. And your gene structure, the way it is laid out, almost proteins and all the stuff that they talk about, is unique to you. And it started with two cells coming together. And then they multiply and they multiply. But every time they multiply, it has that same background vibration. And that was going on for months before you got here. Here, since they were born, a young baby, months old, still continuing with the same background vibration, getting experiences directly through its nervous system, okay? Now, entanglement energy maintains this idea of separate things in space and time. It's this illusion that it's separate, but it also couples things together based on similarities. And that's where the same vibration come in. The fuzzy boundary maintains these entanglements. Okay, now let me just go to the next one. Some of your experiences are not always pleasant. None of us have nothing but pleasant experiences, I don't think. I think we wish we did, but there are these kinds of experiences which actually, I think, cause us to grow, cause us to learn from a very young age how to deal with unpleasant experiences. Now, how do you quantify that? Well, you actually can't numerically quantify it, but we quantify pain, when we go to the doctor, at least my doctor, when I had an injury, asked me what level was it. So you do have a sense of a quantitative level of pain. Hurts the most, if terrible, terrible incidents, and love could be real positive, right? And let me suggest and try to connect this with, later we use a Russell-Targ 0 to 7 scale that, roughly you might do something like this, where right near the neutral point is 0, but notice entanglement energy, at least in the way I understand it now, and I am certainly open to changing this in the future as I learn more, it needs to be positive here, because I know fear is a great entangler. I mean, the kinds of things which we remember from the past, and precognition is remembering the future, are really happy ones and really sad ones. Those are the ones that tend to stick. They get triggered the easiest. And so, at least for now, this is the concept I'm putting out there. Near a neutral place, 0, maybe it goes negative in here. Maybe we should interpret this as negative, but I don't want to do that. This is probably more like a vector, where it's got a magnitude, but then it's got a direction towards love, away from love. Important point here is hypothetical scales like this, you really can get a sense of. And I think it makes sense that the entanglement energy would be higher as you approach love, wisdom, acceptance. I put these exclamation marks here, not really believing that in our ARV context, it connects up with unconditional love. I'll explain that a little bit later. Here's another chart. This one went from 20 to 700. Again, notice always positive, but smaller down near the suffering, the low level. Here's love here. Here's neutrality. So I'm laying on roughly, and obviously don't take this literally, but do take it to realize that you do have a sense of these. You have a sense of when you're in a loving, positive place as opposed to being fearful. You have a sense of that. And you, in fact, can work that. If I ask you now to think of a really loving incident in the past and bring that feeling of love into your being right now, into your conscious being right now, you can do that. You can feel more love. You can feel happier. You can feel more positive. So you can work this scale. So if this approach is useful, okay, now we've talked about these things. I hope you have a sense of them. Let's see how we might apply them. At first, I'm going to do one that I've done before, but it comes right out of this model in a direct way, and that's a connection between you and events. Now, what's an event? An event is a series of meaningful conscious moments. You go to a sporting event. Well, okay, maybe the driving to the event was part of it in your mind or not. Maybe that's in the fuzzy boundary. But then you're at the game and you watch it, okay? So a lot of now moments. But you may go to a lot of games and you are able to forget stuff. You are able to ignore events and decrease the entanglement. I think that means bringing it to the zero entanglement level. And it can never be exactly zero because there's nothing is separated, but close to zero, undetectable for all practical purposes. So we got rid of all of those but two. Now you can increase entanglement. And let's take a specific relevant example. So let's say this is your remote viewing session, right? You start it, you do a cool down, you think about going to your special place maybe or your computer, but you do your RV session. So that's one event. Guess what the second event will be? Your feedback session, okay? We want to entangle those as strongly as possible. And you can do that. And you do that by increasing this handshake by making it as loving and as positive as possible. So the entanglement energy, the amount that you can bring in connecting these two, the better. Okay? You want to shine the feedback session up really heavily. And I don't even care if it's a negative picture. You can make it positive. It's part of life, learning experience. You get into the picture, you make it really positive, you make your whole session as loving and as positive as possible to entangle as strongly as possible, which means the highest entanglement energy that you can make happen. Now here's a trick for doing that. And one of the reasons for doing something like this is it helps get away with boredom. You know, while you're doing this and making it positive, your subconscious has other stuff going on. You know, if you've done the same thing so often and you got bored, even though you might feel at one level the love and positive attention, if there's a boredom feeling there too, which may not quite be at the surface where you feel bored yet, you know, that would reduce the entanglement energy. So the idea of a beacon is also sort of a fun. You can vary this idea. What this basically means is, for example, when you get your coordinate, you might hold a candy kiss in your hand, knowing that you're going to open it and eat it during the feedback session. So you can use that to visualize the feedback session and then the picture, the photo site, which is there at feedback time. If you're healthier than I am, you might want to do an apple, or you might want to switch between them. But you can do anything. There was a beacon in Star Wars, and they use that word beacon. But you can do anything you want. And you can vary it. You could use the smell. So you get the idea. So that's one of the kind of suggestions, one of the ideas which follows, I think, from this model, in the sense of you want to make it fun. Fun is clearly up in the loving area. And you want to make it strong and interesting and all those kinds of things. So a beacon might help you. Plus, even better is for you to come up with your own ideas. I had a woman who came up and she used to put a design, a different kind of design around the edges of her transcript. And then when she started her feedback session, she'd do that same design. So be clever, make it fun. Love your beacon and your RV and feedback sessions. So I think you're getting my main message here. But now let me give you another example. And this is really a bigger picture example. what about taking on what I think is a very important issue for transitioning into the consciousness paradigm? I believe we have enough evidence around that we've finally are accelerating into that. Um, information has been around forever, but somehow it feels different now. Um, there's information being released from the government about remote viewing, for example. Um, I don't know that the information about ETs is relevant, but it certainly might be. Things like telepathy, which is certainly part of the consciousness paradigm shift, might open up opportunities in that area. But I think for now, at least, my choice is to leave that separate. That when that time happens, it should be clear. But at this point, let's talk about privacy of the personal mind from anyone, anything, um, uh, including ETs, including people who might not like me and who might want some information they could use against me. And that's something to be very careful of. And I will bring this point up again. I believe it's important to do it in a very positive way. Uh, I brought up the negative of somebody possibly wanting to hurt me. I think if I wanted to get privacy of personal mind, it would be important for me to do it because it's going to make me feel really comfortable knowing that no one can get into my mind, that I want to keep this information private from everybody to make me feel really good. Okay, got to do it in a positive way. And the specific example I'm going to be doing, but you'll see this easily generalizes to anything else that you might want to keep secret from everybody else. Okay, so we're going to use a shielding technique, a reflective shielding technique, to keep this information private to me. Okay, so we're going to apply this using shielding. Now, this is the whole issue of privacy. With the model I've laid out, this fits in exactly with inside versus outside metaphor. The Private.AJ, I might want other things to be private, so I've called this Private.AJ. That's like a private place, again, a metaphor in the physical world, though all of this is done down in the UCC. So I'm always going to need to have the privacy of a set of conscious moments concerning some subject. Now, it'll actually, as you'll see, be even broader, but I know both ARV targets are in your mind. So this is like the shield of somebody who wants to get both targets. This is just like what I do in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. Same for eight. This is the idea. And here is a woman who's doing meditation, and she doesn't want anybody else in her meditation. It's her, so she might want to keep that completely private. And can she build something that might allow her to do that? But we're going to focus now and keep out of my mind concerning ARV. So we want you to stay out of there. Now, what you have to do is organize. It's really more like organizing a private place for my analysis judging sessions. And this always has to be personal. Well, it probably doesn't always have to be personal. I mean, I suppose in principle I could make one for everybody, but that, at least my first gut reaction is that that's more difficult. So I think it would make more sense to do it at the personal level, and that's what I'm going to be doing here. So I've laid this out at the personal level to keep private all information about both possible targets and my interactions with them during my AJing. So again, I think you all understand there are two possible targets, but I don't want anybody to look at both of them. I don't want anybody to know what the other one was. That's the wrong one. I don't want anybody to describe that. I don't want to describe it if I'm doing self-judging. And so I even want to keep it secret from myself when I'm doing remote viewing. So that's how private I really want this. Now, also, I have to keep private any other information which is entangling the actual target, the feedback target that I see, with the other possible target, right? There are two. So if I'm going to make this place really private, the thing I'm really keeping private is any information about what I call the other possible target. So it is important to recognize that it's the conscious awareness which seems most fundamental, because that's when it's going to come up and cause trouble. But the information happens to also reside in the subconscious awareness, and so I need to protect from that as well. That is an important consideration for what we're doing here, because all the information is in the UCC. So we need to do actual conscious awareness now moments. So those are experienced in the physical world, but they have a different feeling vibration compared to probable moments, which are never actualized. These probable moments are in the UCC and available to subconsciousness. So that's important to understand. And both are to be protected, since even the probable sessions contain both possible targets. Okay, so let's now begin to do it. Okay. I'm laying it out here. I actually first did it, and I'll do this more than once. Every time I do a analysis judging session, and I am now doing it regularly for two people on paper, because I think the physical movements of doing it are important. I will draw a circle like that. I will draw little circles, and whether I'll write them out in full like this or not, I don't know. But I will certainly bring them into my consciousness, the ones I happen to think of then. In fact, maybe I'll even have this picture near me, but I want to make it real at the time I'm doing my session. And we need to define from the UCC all items to protect, all the coordinates or the target reference numbers, TRNs, in my past, present, and future. I want to protect all of them now. Now, let's get more specific. I certainly want a list of all of them, so I'm going to put this in the private place. I want awareness of at the moment that I paired these. So the moment that somebody, and they weren't always me, but somebody paired these possible targets, photosite A and photosite B, in the target pool. And that was another source of getting information which might cause this thing called displacement. It might not have come directly from my mind when I was acting as a judge. But that might be there. So that one is there as well. Awareness moments of other viewers and judges who receive these same photo sites. Awareness of my receiving it. Awareness moments with possible target B associations. Here's target A association. So I'm getting as specific as I can with the individual targets, but they may entangle then to this other target. So I just felt like I wanted to write all of these down. Awareness moments with the actual target, my awareness moments for the actual targets. And then my awareness moments with the other target. As a judge, I have awareness for both of those. Those were the ones which were sort of the baseline, and most people would think this is where it occurs. And it may, we don't know. But I'm including all the other ones that I can think of, plus I have one here which are unknown unknowns for photosite A and photosite B for that particular coordinate. And so all the coordinates are in there for that. So that was my approach for defining what I wanted to protect. Now, what I've done, and I mentally will do this, sensing it from my subconscious and bringing it up from the UCC into a private room in the physical world. Notice I brought the blue, dark blue in here. That's the physical universe. I also put me now, okay, in here so I can indeed do this. So I'm specifically placing inside this Private.AJ in the physical universe with my subconscious and subconscious minds, and I'm focusing on these. Now, I also need to introduce why this is important. Why is it meaningful to me? And I need to connect these meaningful, loving, this loving heartbeat idea, and really it's the creativity part of the universe as well, into this private room. Make it important. Make it something which is really a good thing for me and the universe to keep this as private as possible. Notice it's got a fuzzy boundary. I don't expect it to be 100%. I would like to make it as private as possible. Okay, so I've now built it. Now let me talk. Okay, so that's it. It's built. I built it as a reflective boundary. Now let's talk about that. What does that mean? So as I was building it while I was inside here, the fuzzy boundary of this private room, Private.AJ, and all fuzzy boundaries inside, so in here, are reflective. And they're reflective specifically back to the actual real target, XXXXX. So I'm actually using this private room to enhance the actual target. So if anybody is trying to peek, trying to get in here, they will send energy back to this target. So that's what I mean by reflective boundary. So we've created it. We pay positive intention, attention, and expectation. We're doing this from as deep a place in our sub as we can go. We have love and meaning in here. Okay, and let me now show you an example here. So notice what I've done here. We've got an inquiry from outside. what does it do? You know, it's fuzzy what happens in any detail here, but it reflects out and goes to the target at feedback time, because that's where the target is wide open, exchange. We're doing everything we can to, words get hard here, but to light it up. So it's easy to find with that coordinate from your remote viewing session. See, here is your remote viewing session. Here is the feedback session. So it reflects back here. Another example, this is another inquiry. The first one is just like this one. Goes in, reflects, comes here. Hey, but what if it manages somehow to get to the inside? Okay, now as it looks to everything in here, each one of these has its own reflective boundary to the target. So I've made this as strong as I can, emphasizing things always going to the actual feedback target. So this really gives me more confidence. And if any of you want to try this, please do, and keep statistics. Let me know how it goes. So with more confidence, and also, hey, I now get a chance to feel more love, which is good during the whole process. That's good, right? And entangle in a very good, positive way my RV. Well, I'm judging, so the RV and feedback sessions for the people I judge with. But I believe you can do this with self-judging as well. So entanglement with love as the heartbeat of ARVing, as well as the whole physical universe. Remember, we're doing this, we are entities in the physical universe. But all the information comes from deeper places, sourced with the UCC. I mentioned desire before, and we want to keep this private, but I found this, which I showed you before, but it forced me to the following conclusion, which I'm sharing with you. You know, we clearly want this, and this bugaboo of displacement, where you give a really good description of the other target, the wrong target, the one that doesn't actualize. That's called displacement, but it's a really good one. We have desired very, very strongly, all of us, to get rid of it. But notice down here, desire is below neutrality. It's contracted consciousness, if you will. It's in kind of the negative in terms of feeling direction, you know? It's down by fear. And it took me a while to make sense out of that. But if you desire something, it generally means you're unhappy because you don't have it, or you fear you won't have it. It's in that sense that they mean it here. You're angry that you don't have this. You know, you're pissed off that displacement occurs. If this is coming from that place, it's going to counter all the love and joy, fun, meaning that you're bringing to, in this example, my Private.AJ. And so I believe it's really important to desire this in a positive way that is totally consistent with how good it's going to be for you in the universe. That insight came into me, and I've just shared it with you. So yes, you're going to want to build a private place but do it for really all the good, positive reasons, not for any negative reasons. And that's where more and more love and enjoying your own abilities to create these sorts of things come in. So feel the joy of having it now, right? You have it in the now. What this does is this lights that up all the way down through the subconscious into the UCC. It makes it brighter every time you do it. So enjoy it now. And then feel loving the reason or meaning for any desire. Okay? And it really should be for all the good positive reasons. Otherwise, why are you doing it? Questions, comments on this? I really would like some. It's the first time I've actually put this together like this. I've been working on it for a while. You all get it? You need to let it sit. Yes? Creating, well, yeah. I don't want it to be numinous to anybody else. Interesting. I'm not sure that's the right word. Yes, there is a lot to process. If anything, Teresa, it's almost like I want to make it invisible to everybody else, you know. But then if they happen to find it, it gets reflected. I suppose maybe it's numinous if it really works as well as I hope it does and gives me more energy to the target. Anyway, I'm not quite sure how to label it, you know, and it is a lot to process, and there's a lot going on there, so I don't think one word is going to do it. And it's obviously, and I hope you got this message, it's got to be very personal, because it's got to be something that you define in a way which is really clear and broad. Okay.
So I have a comment.
Good. Shoot.
A while ago, someone suggested that there are two feelings, emotions, joy or fear. You are coming from either a place of joy or a place of fear. And with the levels that you showed, that's what came to me.
I think that's great. And I've heard a lot of people say something similar, where all the other kinds of emotions and feelings you have can be entangled, if you will, to this one scale. You know, there's so many different words we use, but certainly joy and fear are really good, and the recognition that you can have levels of them is what we've done here. So, yeah, thank you, Lila.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now let's go on to the next item, which is feedback. And we won't have any today because, as I indicated, it's a few days from today is when the event occurs. So we don't know the outcome yet from the predictions we made about a month ago. But I still want to talk about feedback because it's just so important, right? It begins there. That's where your truth point is. So we do this on purpose, knowing that precognition begins with the feedback session. And that's the retrocausality mental idea. But all of this stuff is going on kind of all the time. There's this concept of eternal now. But anyway, a way of focusing on it and giving more energy to the feedback session is realizing that precognition begins with the feedback session. Here's a quote from Dean Radin on this whole idea of entanglement. So we're focusing on entanglement between the remote viewing session and the feedback session. But one of the most surprising discoveries of modern physics is that objects aren't as separate as they may seem. And he's using the word objects here as I think I'm using the word things very broadly. When you drill down into the core of even the most solid-looking material, separateness dissolves. All that remains, like the smile of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, are relationships extending curiously throughout space and time. These connections were predicted by quantum theory and were called spooky action at a distance by Einstein. Erwin Schrödinger dubbed this peculiarity entanglement, saying, "I would not call that one, but rather the characteristic trait of quantum mechanics." Now, is this feedback really so important? Yes, and all I can keep doing is emphasizing it, and yet I know so many people, because they come back and tell me this, "Oh no, but I had the feeling it was over, so I didn't do a good feedback session." I want to remind you of the Outbounder experiments at the Stanford Research Institute, and they were exceptionally successful. And what did they do? They took a lot of time, energy, discussions, comparing the target to the prediction transcript. What they did is they went to physical targets that were within a half an hour drive of SRI. They were totally blind. The person didn't even know where they were going to go, the one that went to the site, until they got in their car and randomly chose a number from 1 to 100 and had a little file, 3x5 cards, and came up with the sign. So, I mean, it was all done, beautifully blind. But when they would get to the site, notice they were physically there, physically entangling with the site and their transcript. They paid a lot of attention to it, a lot of time to it. And we can do the same with photo sites. Your consciousness can go to the site just like they did physically. And of course, we've been doing this now for so many years with photo sites. We know it works, and it works quite well. We want to get it to work even better. It doesn't, I hate to admit, work as well as it did at the SRI days, but they were using the best of best viewers. We're using, they used the Joe McMonagle, for example. We need, with all these ideas I'm putting out and hopefully others will put out, we can get to that same place. Okay, let's now talk about specifically hit, miss, and pass protocols. For the hit protocol, because I know most of you are doing other ARV work in some of the other groups as well. So the hit protocol, all of these are designed to have you do more and more. The big feeling there is to just celebrate, feel really good. Notice all the matches on the transcript. I might remember how they felt coming up from the subconscious. This is how you'll learn. The feedback is all about learning, to get better and better, to be able to do things you couldn't do before. Go to uncharted territories. If you didn't think you could do colors, you'll start doing colors. It's all about learning. But mostly when you get a hit, just feel happy. Your communication channel worked. Have an M&M. That comes from, Ingo used to use M&Ms. Okay, so that's the hit photo. And in our We system, there's a box, and write down a few good things, how good it felt, which one of your targets matches was really good, and yeah, I really did have a different feeling about it. Whatever's going on with you, it's all for you. That information is available to you on our website. So put it in the text box. Then how about the miss protocol? Well, we want less and less misses. We want to learn how to get more hits. And misses are really the perfect opportunity to learn something. I think the miss protocol should be longer than the hits. The hits, you feel really good. You might do one of the good things. You get out. The miss protocol, you want to take full responsibility for the miss. You don't want to blame. I don't care if you didn't like the targets. You want to learn how to do all targets. You shouldn't care. You want to get better and better at this. Just take full responsibility. You'll know whether or not you maybe didn't follow some other aspect of your protocol. Maybe you stopped too soon and you sort of knew there was more information there, but you were in a rush. Obviously, you don't want to be in a rush. It's you. It's a miss. Okay, fine. None of us are perfect. You might now think through, did you do the best RV session that you could have done? The answer may be yes or no, but you're going to think that way. Did you stick to your protocol? Did you set a very strong positive intention and expectation? That's what we do during the RV sessions. We set ourselves up in this loving, positive mode. Did you pay attention to your sub, or were you too much into your intellect? So those are the kind of things you think about. Right now, you're in your feedback session, you got a miss, and all you do is look at the real target. You're just paying attention to it. Everything you're doing here is connected only to the real target. But you did judge against that target. How did that judging go? Did you miss something? Was there more to this one than you thought, or not? Do you think it was correct? And this is you. You're doing this for you, and more often than most people would like, when they see the actual target and the transcript and they know now it is the real target, they will pick up stuff they missed. But not always. Sometimes it was just a miss. Okay, so talk to and teach the judge part of you what to do. I like to talk to my independent remote viewers, but I do a feedback session as well. And if you do self-judging, you can take full responsibility for the whole kit and caboodle. Now, this idea of discipline, this is where you're really going to find out during the miss if you really did have self-discipline. And trust me, even long-time people doing this will find that they maybe didn't. They maybe pushed it. Rushing is one of the big ones that come up. I really wanted to do one today, but I didn't have a lot of time, so I fit it in, whatever. And I think you very quickly know in your gut what the proper discipline and protocol is. So you'll know when you didn't follow it. Also, this idea of a positive attitude about learning. Do keep wanting to learn. I don't believe this area has so much capability in terms of remote viewing all aspects of photo sites that I don't think you're ever going to be done. So you might as well try to get better and better at it, increase your hit rate, and have a positive attitude that you'll eventually get there. Don't set a time frame. You'll get there when the time is right for you. Okay. And that may change. This is dynamic. Every feedback session hopefully will give you more positive information and may guide you in somewhat different ways. So, and I talk about the hit rate a lot because as a scientist, I like quantitative things. A hit rate is a definite quantitative thing. But please know that the reason I'm doing this and the reason I hope you're doing this is to deepen yourself. I mean, you are so magnificent. This subconscious mind that connects up to the UCC, how marvelous that the universe can be put together that way and that we're here, conscious beings. The pass, nothing wrong with passes. One of the biggest mistakes I see with judging, and this is acknowledged by so many people, is that here I am judging, whether it's self or independent. I know the remote viewer has put in a lot of effort into it. And oh my God, I'm going to give this guy a pass, this gal a pass. Yes, if there isn't a strong match, a good, comfortable match above a 3.5 on our 0.7 scale on either of the two possible targets, pass. There's nothing wrong with passes. We don't want misses. So, and your passes give you another opportunity to learn how to get more hits. Okay, you have an opportunity to learn something. Again, you take full responsibility and you ask just like you did before, what were the kind of questions you might now ask, and certainly in the misses do this too, what do you wish your subbie had communicated on your transcript? And then do it now. On a new sheet of paper, do the session you wish you had done, but in the kind of ARV minimalistic way, a sketch, the big picture words, some of the few specific words, what colors, what texture. Do the session that you wish you had done. You can do it in just a few minutes because now you have the target. You now know the right answer. And don't do anything like sketch the target. You want to do it sort of with your remote viewing eyes. And then you want to expand your remote viewing senses. Okay, so be happy, hit, miss, or pass. Joe McMonagle said it's all psychological, and indeed it is. All the stuff that went on since you were a babe is still down there, and you've got to get it all aligned or set aside to make all this work. And all I can do and all any of the other teachers out there can do is verbally try to pass it on to you, give you examples. But Galileo said, you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him find it within himself. And in this area, the within himself is really learning how to get in touch with your subconscious and the UCC and have it provide the information you want to the conscious mind. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Good, thank you for that. So, private comment. How about doing a new prediction? Let's do it. The last couple were on Forex. I like Forex for these and actually for a lot of other things better than the Dow Jones or SPY because we have feelings about that, which knowing our subconscious has access to everything might impact things. I don't know. I'm being just super safe. Plus the Forex are sort of fun and it doesn't matter. They all look the same. These are the Australian versus US dollar, Europe, and the Great Britain pound. The these are gaps. Doesn't matter. And these are showing 30-minute candles, but the market goes up and down. What we're going to be doing is the Australian versus US dollar. Will it move up between the close of the market today and the close of the market on February 5th, a month? Now, how, for your newbies, how does that all happen? Well, everything is done over the internet, partially via email, where you get your tasking, you get links to your feedback, and also just directly on the website, where you go and the links take you there, and where you get to see, for example, your feedback. So it's all internet based. Okay, so this is the tasking. Notice it's just what I said. Will the Australia US dollar move up between the 2nd of January and the 5th of February? And there we give the date. I've made the events as it ends. I put the end date. And then the transcripts are due today. And then you would have to click here. Now, this goes to everybody in the particular group. So this is how those of you who are in groups already know you get this every day. You get a email like this. So this is the original email. It came into me because I'm in the group. I notice it came into a lot of the others of you that are now in the group. And some of you already did it, and which is fine. But I know some of you haven't. You're going to do it now. So it begins by clicking right here. So I am going to do it. So I'm going to click. Remember, I'm now in the email. So I just simply click there. And here comes up where you would put in your email address. And I'm going to ask you to actually do that now. So let me get that link. And if those of you who have done one want to do another one, feel free. Oh no, you'll get back your same coordinate. You can do a second session, but one email for this one will only give you one coordinate. Okay, so what I want to do now is go back here and I think I have to get, oh wait, I'm pretty sure. Okay. It doesn't want to come back. Why does it want to come back? Oh, that's strange. Oh, hold on. I'm sorry. Bear with me. Okay. That's not it. So it thinks it is, but it's this one. I see. I think it was on the other side. Okay. Okay, so this is what I want to give you all. And I'm being, copy the link. Okay. Okay, so you should all have in the chat box this exact link. I'm going to test it by clicking on it now. Yep, there it is. So in that, put your email address in. In fact, I'll do mine. Webinar workshop is already chosen. Okay, I'm sort of giving you each time to do it. If there are any problems, turn on your mic and tell me about it or put it in the chat box. And then all you do is click right here. And this is for my username, my coordinate. Okay, so you have your coordinate now. And put that on the top of a sheet of paper that will be your transcript. So get out your paper and pen. Is everybody okay? I'm looking at the chat box.
No.
Okay,
No, I
good.
don't have a
Good.
link.
Did you click the link?
I don't have a link in my chat box at all.
Oh, I responded to somebody who had given me something in private. Sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. That's why we talk. Okay, now it's to everyone. And there we go. You can't be so shy, everybody. You've got to talk to me. Okay, there you go. Thank you, Lila. Now you should see it.
Yes, it's in the chat box now for everybody.
Okay.
Maybe that's why Jay from San Francisco said he didn't understand. It just wasn't showing up, but now it's there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, thank you, Jay. Good. Okay, so this is what you should see when you click. And then you click here. And you'll get your coordinate or target reference number. And then you'll get something that looks like that. And then your coordinate will be here and here. We okay? Give you a little more time. If anybody's having trouble, please speak up or chat up. Okay, very good. So on the top of a sheet of paper, we're about to do a remote viewing session. You'll put that coordinate right at the top here. See, this line sort of indicates, and not everybody does it this way. You saw the examples before, but this is sort of the nominal way that I teach. So you've got your coordinate there. You put your name and the date and the time on the right here. So those are all your preliminaries. And then, I actually have sheets like this that some people use. Most people are now just using blank sheets of paper, but I can send anybody who wants, just email me and I'll send you this sheet. But notice the AOLs on the right, as we discussed before. And typically what might come up are gestalts. You might write them here. Often they're buried in here because of multiple elements of textures, colors, smells, tastes, dimensions, sounds, dynamics, temperature you can feel, hot, cold, aesthetic impact. So all of that, words and sketches are in the main part here, typically one or two pages. I know some of you who have been around, you've probably already started, which is fine, but I want to go through this for some of the newbies. So Joe McMonagle, who's perhaps the best remote viewer in the world, I would say he's the best public remote viewer in the world. He's done more public sessions by far than any other remote viewer. And Ed May, who was a key scientist for many, many, many years, and is now publishing the Stargate Chronicles. These two came to the conclusion that intention, attention, and expectation play a very, very, very important role in the success of both application and research of remote viewing. Just have to really take that seriously. At virtually every step that we're doing, when you think about this, pay attention to your intention and positive expectation of this all happening in conscious now moments, being real.
Hi, Marty.
Uh-huh.
Should we start the session now?
Only if you're an oldie and have done some before. I'm going through this as a newbie, Jay. Are you a newbie?
I have been practicing CRV for 3 years now. I don't think so.
Okay, why don't you just hang in there with me? I'm going to give more intro and then 10 minutes to do a session. So hang in there with me.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, good.
All right.
Good. And so we remember that the cue is to describe and sketch your feedback target. You now have the coordinate at the top of your transcript. And you're right now beginning what's called cool down. You're right now getting into your I-Psi self. Cool down is really very important. Joe, in fact, said he felt it was like 75%. Getting all the other crap out of your head, getting down to where you're really communicating with your sub and the UCC. And so what I'm now about to do is I'm going to verbally cool you down, and then we're going to give you 10 minutes of basically quiet time to do a session. And right now, why don't you begin to take a deep breath. We want you to focus on your breathing. Breathe in, breathe out. Let all the day-to-day thoughts that may still be coming into your head just simply leave your body. Just feel them leaving. Focus on your breathing. It's quiet. Oh, that feels good. Might close your eyes now. Just sort of see a mind screen that might have nothing in it or some stuff, but just ignore that. Focus on your breathing. Going down to a deep place in your subconscious. Set your intention to describe and sketch your feedback target for your coordinate. Feel really good about that. Feel some love doing that. Bring in some love, some good positive energy. Yeah, that feels good. Okay. I'm going to give you 10 minutes from now. Describe and or sketch your feedback target on your transcript. have about 1 minute to go. You might go down and get another precept, another element or two. Okay, why don't you come back to your normal state? Might stretch a little. So we now have our sessions. I'm sorry, I'm just finishing off. I took a little lunch. Okay, we're back. We're back. Really do miss not being able to see people in a classroom kind of environment. Okay, so you've done step one. You've done your remote viewing session. The next step is the analysis judging. And to our yes, no question. So we're about to match our transcript to two possible ones. So this is one of the places where you see both targets. And of course, we have a desire to not do that. And I would like for us to, I'm reviewing some of this stuff. I would like us, each of us, even you, never done this before. Let's get just a little quiet now. And why don't you imagine, I'm actually going to do it on another sheet of paper. I'm drawing a circle, and above it, I'm going to say Private.AJ. You can do one, that'll be private for you. It's obviously personal. And I drew a circle inside, and that's going to be this session. So this AJ session, I want to be private from my RV session. Guys, we're all doing self-judging. So just, you're not, what goes on here stays here. It's not going to be shared anyplace else. And I'm just going to do one more, which is sort of all other possible connections. Okay. To what turns out to be the other target. And now just to the outside of this private AJ room, make it reflective to the target, to the real target, whatever that is. And then the two circles inside, I'm making those reflective to the target as well. Okay, so that's how I want to begin this. And so this is what we've done. I want each of you would like know that that's doable, and you just did it in a, for the first time. I don't know how strong it is. I think the more you pay attention to this idea, the stronger it gets. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about what we're about to do. And that is, I'm going to show you how you get to see your target next. Okay, that's the next thing to do, is to see both possible targets. And then we're going to rank them. And we use Russell Targ, who is one of the guys at SRI, who worked with Hal Prudoff. And he came up with this 7-point system where 0 is no correspondence, 1 is little, 2 is some correct elements, but not sufficient to suggest results beyond chance. So, if you only get a few matches, it simply could be chance. 3, there is a mixture of correct and incorrect elements, but enough of the correct elements indicate the viewer made contact with the target. So now you have a feeling, let's say roughly half of your elements, in fact, match one of the targets, and you're going to do this for each of the 2 possible targets. But, if roughly half matches, and they're good, they have a good sense about them, you say, hey, I got a psychic connection there. My psi was in, and I made contact with the target. That would be a 3. But a 4 now is really good correspondence with several matchable elements intermixed with some incorrect information. What we do is to make this wagerable. We have a confidence ranking of 3.5. When we started this way back, we had people had to do integers, and they always were saying between integers it was too hard. Plus, we found that different judges judging the same transcript and possible target could be different by 1. So what we've now done is, if you say 3.5, in other words, you're above just the margin where you were just there. Now you're saying 3.5, I'd be willing to wager a few bucks. So that's what the CR or 3.5 means. And you're going to see shortly how you rank yours that way. So a 4 is good correspondence. A 5 now adds good correspondence with unambiguous and unique matchable elements, but some incorrect information. So this is obviously his way of getting stronger. This is a much better match. There needs to be stuff in there that makes you feel really good that this is unambiguous and unique to the particular possible target that you're judging. And then 6 and 7 get into this analytical overlay area, where 6 you might name the function, and now you have relatively little incorrect information. And then 7 is really, really good. It's like spot on. You might name the subject. So it's like spot on. Okay, so that's what Targ did. On your transcripts, after I show you how, and the old bees are probably already doing this, but I'm going to show you newbies how to take the transcript against a possible target. This was somebody else's example, not your coordinate. And you mark it either with like a capital A, notice outdoors, sometimes a little a, which will count as half a point, because we're going to be counting these. See down here, they had 19 A's, 7 B's, and the little a's I at least count as a half a point, because yeah, I think it is right, but not quite as sure. So that's a technique of doing it. And here's just another example where they took the ratios. And notice here there's a ratio of 0.57, a ratio of 0.43. Generally, 0.5 would be where you'd want to be if you had a confidence ranking of 3.5. And you use this technique. Okay, so you could do the ratio like we did here and just multiply it by 7 and you would get a number. Now this is different than TARG, but this is quantitative. Some people like to use this method. I think it's good enough. You ought to make sure you don't violate the sense of his words. And then ultimately, this is what I'm now recommending. And it's an idea I stole with his approval from Joe McMonagle. And that is, I've alluded to first impression gestalts, the thing that hits you right in the face when you look at a picture. It's something big, kind of gets you in the ballpark where then you're going to maybe add more details. And there can be more than one fig. You know, it could be a giant mountain with nothing but red flowers. So you could just get the immediate impression when you first look at it. Joe makes the point very strongly that in terms of judging, 50% of the weight should be these first impression gestalts. And so he gives first impression gestalts values between 0 and 1. So when you're a judge, you would say, oh, gee, look, these are the first impression gestalts I'd expect people to get. And, you know, and then you give it a 0 to 1, you know, and you have to use some judgment here. If there are 3 that were possible and someone got 2, do you give them a 0.67 for that? Or do you say, you know what, they picked up 2 good gestalts, I'm going to give them a 1. And I'm not going to tell you what's right. You're the judge. But the whole idea is, did they capture first impression gestalts? And that's between 0 and 1. And then 50% to this A/B counting approach that we were doing. I just showed you that. And so here's the formula. It really isn't very hard. You take this first impression gestalt, and you're going to do this for A and for B, exactly the same. Then you take the ratio of the number of matches that you have for A divided by the total number of possible matches. So that's why this might be a half or might be 1. But now you've got 2 terms in here, and then you just multiply those by 3.5. Okay, so I guess this is just another example where I think somebody did this. And here's a chart. Some people don't like to do the math, so here's a chart. You could just add these 2 numbers together. People sometimes get scared of judging. The math is the easy. Making some of the independent judges is where you are. Ultimately, you're communicating to this 0 to the 7 scale. You know, if your fig is a 1 and you got 100% matches, you're going to get a 7. And there may not even be an AOL in there, but I'm perfectly happy to have you give it a 7 under those conditions. Now, let's go how you get the CRs in, right? Let's do it. So to do that, I have to go back to where, there you go. Okay, so remember this page, and this was my coordinate. All of you went to this page as well. You did your transcript, and now it's time to upload your transcript to the server so it gets saved there. And for independent judges, they will then go and they'll be able to get it, as you will later, um, though okay, wait, let me just try to be a little clearer here. You're all doing self-judging. As self-judges, you now have the transcript right in front of you, and you should upload it to your machine. The way you do that is you browse, click the browse button here. So you can bring yours up there and you can browse. And in one fashion or another, you need to browse probably for a picture. Most people in this day and age are using their smartphones to take a picture of their transcript and then to send it off to their computer, and then they browse for it here, okay? So I didn't do a session, but for teaching purposes, I have a dummy transcript because you must put something in here before you hit submit. You must put in your transcript. So I think most of you can do that. If any of you are having particular trouble, you can let me know. But then once you do browse, then you click submit. Now, I don't think I'm going to do it, because then you'll see my pictures, which I don't know if that will confuse you or not. Let me see what I did here.
Marty,
Yep.
I understand that you shall scan and send the transcript before we make our analysis and judging, right? Before we put A and B.
That is correct. In fact, you know what? I am going to show my picture. Realize what I'm about. What you said is exactly right, because you don't have the two pictures to compare. So what you have to do is upload, well, first send to your computer a picture of the transcript. And yes, scanners are still out there. You can scan it. You can take a picture of it. You get it on your computer. You then browse and find it, and then you click submit. So I'm going to click submit, which is, remember, for my coordinate. Okay, so for my coordinate, there are two possible photo sites. I hope each of you are doing this now for yours, and you're looking at your picture. And then with your transcript and your picture, you can right now, and the second picture is lower, but I recommend just doing photo site A first. You have to do one first. Later, you can see if some people want to see them both right away. There's a way of doing that. But for right now, take a look at your picture, your photo site. This is a photo site. And mark on your transcript, since this is photo site A, capital A's, little a's, or leave it blank. And there might not be a match at all. You know, if like if I had said water was one of my words, I'd leave that blank because I don't see any water in here. Okay, so you're doing that now. It takes a while. I know some of you have already done it, so I will show the second one. Now notice here, if I had water, I would give a major B with this, and I'd also mark this as a fig for this, right? Look at this, water. I didn't really know there was going to be water there. It's the first time I'm seeing these two. But you get the idea. If there's some good gestalts there, and sometimes it comes with one word, sometimes you're willing to say the gestalt is there because of a collection of words. It's such a good description. But you may want to, in doing your judging, specifically indicate the figs if you use that second approach. And then here is where you could, if you go further down, you could see them both. And here is where we're going to be putting in the confidence rankings. And notice on this page, just for you to remember, I'm clicking this link now, and you can see what comes up. So, you know, if you ever forget the 3.5 and how important a 5 is, really good stuff. You get up to the 5 level, you're doing quite well, but you can always find that simply by clicking on the link here. And then ultimately, you're going to choose your CRs that you put in, either from there, and here's the one for B. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of the protocol itself, and that's always been the intent. This way of putting it together took a while to get, but it's intended to be as easy as possible so that all of your intention, attention, and expectation can be on the ARV sessions and the stuff going on within them. Okay, so this is cool. So notice each of you have your own coordinate and you're doing your own judging. And after all that is done, I will be able to see how you all did, and I will actually put in a group prediction under my name, since this is the workshop webinar. So it won't be for me. I'll probably put in a pass since I didn't do it. Well, I will put in a pass. I'm going to say for me, this is a webinar workshop. I did not do a session. Okay. Okay, so you're looking at your own, so there's no need for me to keep this on anymore. So I am going to close mine. So I've now submitted mine as a pass with 2 zeros. When you do yours, you'll get a page like this, but it will tell you what photo site A was randomly associated with. In my case, it was a no, and this was a yes. A and B. It gives you anything that you really would want. But now what I am going to do, so I am the group manager for this. What you're seeing now is what the group manager does. You already saw the result of the tasking step that I did. The second step is the group prediction step, which is you guys are making the inputs for that. So we'll do that next. And then step 3 for a group manager is to share the outcome with everybody in the group. Again, all over internet email. But right now, I am going to do group prediction. I want a group prediction for the webinar workshop. Here's where I get to choose which one, and I can see the task here. See, sometimes I have to go back in time, like for the ones that are a month old. Will odd US move up between? So this is definitely the one, so I'll click that. And here we are. So I can see Teresa Bright's done one. I've done one. Mine was a pass. Oh no, Teresa may be just in the process because I don't see her. Okay. Vera is doing one.
I just sent you one, Marty.
Good. Yep, I see you here. File so writer. Very good.
Can I do it after the webinar because I have some difficulty here?
Yes. And it would be better if we can do it now. Is there anything that I could help you with? I mean, it's a problem in uploading. I don't know who said that. I missed who said that. But yeah, you can do it.
The difficulty is to scan the transcript. That's all. Nothing with the system.
No, but it's difficult with what? Understanding how to do the judging?
No, just the mechanical process to scan the.
Oh, I
the
see.
transcript.
Okay.
The problem here.
Yes, you definitely can do it afterwards. We're talking about a month from now. Try to do it today, and the page it needs to go on and everything. So you're in good shape that way. Okay, now this gives me access to all the transcripts. Lila, you submitted it in the normal way? Let me see you.
Yes, I submitted it the normal way.
Okay, good. So then you will be here in my summary, which I don't see.
Oh, I'm just now doing my comments, and I will submit
it. Okay, very good.
Sorry about that. Okay.
But I can see, but what you can see is I have, up here I have access to the transcripts. I have access to each of your photo sites. So it might be fun to look at those. Again, we're teaching so we can talk about it. And I can see here that Honeycheck did one, and I can see that CRCF did one. I don't know who that is, but let's go find Honeycheck if you don't mind. And if you've got the ability to talk, we can talk about this together. And I think this is useful to do, as long as you don't mind me showing your stuff here. Most people don't. Okay, so here you are. And I am going to do your transcript first. Okay, very nice. There's your transcript. And now let's see if I can get your two pictures up. Oh, I see. That was my, I don't want that. I do want, there we go. Okay, so let's get this picture up. And let's see if the second one will come up separately. No, it didn't, darn. I do apologize. For some reason, when I'm doing this in real time, knowing you are all watching, I am not particularly efficient. But we will get there. We will get there. Now I'm going to make this smaller. Yeah, see, now I can see down here. It looks like I accidentally closed it, or was it here? No, I closed it. Okay. There was too much. I'm going to have to go back here. The rest of you are probably still judging, which is just right. Here. Okay. And there's honey check again. Now let me see your transcript. Hopefully it's still here someplace. Oh, you know what? It isn't. Okay. I'm going to try to be clever this time and open up a new window. Boy, my machine is acting slow. I don't know. Boy, I think you're getting more than you want here. Okay, so let me open up the transcript again. Okay, I'll put that over there. And then now, this over here. And now I'm going to open up. Okay, so this is now photo site A. And to keep that, I'm going to have to copy it. Okay. And now we'll get photo site B. Okay, that was a bit difficult, I'm afraid, but we've done it. Here's photo site A, here's photo site B. Okay. Do you want to talk to us about this, Anastasia? And
I think she's left.
oh, okay. Well, let's us talk about it. In fact, let's see what confidence ranking she gave it. So that is here. So she gave it a 3.5 and a 1. Right? 3.5 and a 1. So she gave this one to 3.5. So let's see if we, as independent judges, would agree. She didn't mark her transcript. She's got people, got man-made, certainly, that's good, and land, moving, yeah. I can, is that here? Birds singing. Wow, considering that this is all about sound, and there may be birds back there, but even if it weren't, the fact that this is all around sound, I would say that's a 3.5, maybe more. This I don't understand, so I wouldn't be able to give much credit for that at all. Okay, well, look, this is an example. I think this was took too long to do this way. Lila, let's do, let me see what you did. Yeah, you gave a 5 to number 2. Here's another 4 for number 1. Let's look at your 5, but maybe not in that kind of detail. So let's have you talk about it. I can show everything, but I'm not going to try to get it all on the screen at the same time. So here you are. Let's look at photo site A. That's there. Okay, now let's look at photo site B. That's there. So we've got A, we've got B.
No, that's not my B. That's Anastasia's.
Okay, wait, let's go back here. I just clicked the wrong one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I clicked, okay. That was your A though, right?
Yes.
Here
yes.
you are. Okay, so this should be your B. Yes.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. And now let's go back and get your transcript. Okay. And I don't think I can easily turn it, so let's not. But why don't you talk about it?
Oh, didn't I send you the one with all my, I thought I sent you the one with my descriptions, all my notes.
It only accepts the first one.
Oh, okay. Shall I send you the other one?
No, I won't be able to get it.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Okay. And you can't turn it. All right.
Well, yeah, I can. Okay, let me turn it. I will turn it. I can turn it by going to Snagit. And I'll capture. Editor, image. I know there's a rotate in here somewhere.
Rotate. There it is.
There it is. Rotate. Okay. There you are. But this now also is good because it allows us to look at this at the same time. Okay, so you gave this match a 5. So why don't you explain your logic?
Okay, the first thing I saw was the mountain, and that's what that rounded thing is on top.
That was your gestalt. Very nice.
That was my gestalt, yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's all I got was just mountain. So I started writing bumpy, dirty, rocky, hard as describing a mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the colors came to me as well. The color brown came to me first. But I don't see any brown in there.
Right. So you didn't give yourself any credit for brown, though you know there's some brown in there, but that's
Sure.
right, to not give yourself credit. But you gave you credit certainly for blue and green.
Oh, yes. And white.
And white, yep.
And dark.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, that was good. Okay. Large, rounded holes, tall. Ooh, this is really good. Concave, flowing, springs, trickles, water dropping. Well, this was good.
And then look at my AOLs.
I know.
Right?
Yep, yep.
So what else could I give it but a 5?
At least. Did you use any of the formulas, or did you just knowing Targ system give it a 5?
I just knew in Targ system. I've been doing this for a couple of years, so I have it pretty well down.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Frankly, I would say if you gave that a 6, I wouldn't object. As long as this stuff came in from your sub and not just follow up to the mountains, you know what I mean?
Ah, yes, yes.
But you've got trickles, you've got water. No,
yeah,
no, no. This is really good. All of you who are looking at this is a good session, totally blind. You even tasted the dirt. You didn't swallow it, did you?
No. But
Okay.
maybe I should have.
Excellent, Lila. That is really good.
Thank you.
Really good. Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think maybe this will be what I'll try to do with the next one as well. Let's get rid of this. Okay, so let's see who else. Is CF here with the 4? I don't see a CF in the participants list, but is that one of you? No. Okay, well, let's look. I'm confident, and you notice how I always ask you to put stuff in the text box. It comes up here, and not only to see now, but the you later, a year from now, you can come back and see when you said you were confident, whether it was a hit or miss. And a lot of times, when you said it was confident, was a hit or miss. So I'm confident when I said I didn't write down the colors. These are the colors I saw. Write down everything. But I was having a little trouble finding them because I felt they were blending somehow. I saw something white. I thought to write down. I'm surrounded by family members. There's music, a lot of talk. So let's have details. Interesting. It sounds like a long timer. Okay, well let's take a quick look at it, and then I'll make my judgment, and then we're almost done. And these things do go 3 hours, whether I like it or not. Let's see here. So that's CF. Where are you? Okay, here you are. So let's do, well, let's just look at them one at a time. So there's A, and that's the one you did a good match to. In fact, let's not even look at the other one. Let's just see if we agree it's a good match. Right, okay. here is the transcript. Okay. So that versus that. Water running with force. Well, connected that with like rain clouds. Then middle for workplace, open space, spiral, circular movement, organic, downward, time and sunset. Certainly the downward is good. Time and sunset. Yeah. Patricia, you're not here. I'd like to know what was going on to give this a 4. The water, to me, it looks a little weak. As I said, people differ by 1. Just for fun, let's see what her other photograph was. Because, okay, well, see, there were no people. Well, my judgment, all I can do, as always, is be honest. I would say I would have given that lower. I would have given that 3. But does anybody else see a stronger connection? And I see the water, certainly open space, look downward. Well, organic. See, that's why you want to mark these. Yeah, well, that's organic. You can see where the challenge is for judging. Okay, I would say that is organic.
Well, they're also looking downward.
And I had downward, yep, and I had downward. So now, so she marked this with an A and this with an A. And the water is maybe a little A, but there's certainly water in those clouds. And there's open space. So she got more than half then. Or just about half of the words. Okay, well, there you go. And you can see as a judge, it takes that. You need to go back and forth. But it really does help to mark each individual element. So she gave it a 4. Okay, can't disagree. Now, I think that would be it for examples. And let me go back to my PowerPoint. And so we're here, so we can do a little review very quickly. It comes in as a tasking where you click there, you put your email address there, and the coordinate is going to be unique to you. So you got your own unique coordinate. You somehow bring it into your computer so you can browse and find it. You then click submit, and you will get, well, you do your transcript first, of course. Very important. You take a good session. I say here, I don't know how to overemphasize this. Don't rush it. You start your RV transcript when you feel good about doing the session. If you can't feel good about doing the session, don't do the session. Do something else. But you get into a place where you feel good about the session, and that leads then nicely into the cool down and setting your intention, paying attention and expectation. There's your transcript. Set your intention, attention. And we did this. We did our judging. We didn't spend nearly as much time doing this, but I believe this is cumulative. And you can do it as separate sessions like I did. It doesn't even have to be, I'm building this period, over time. And it doesn't have to be when I do judging. It can be separate, which is what I did the first time I did this and came up with all this stuff. Okay, and then the target's confidence level, which you saw you could have access to. Joe's approach is nice and analytical. This other one is simpler, where you just take the ratio and multiply by 7, or you just use it directly as Lila and others do. You know, you get a very good sense quickly that 3.5 is marginal, just wagerable, and then a 4 is good, a 5 is very good, unambiguous, unique, and 6 and 7 usually bring in the AOLs, or just very few non-matches. And I showed you how to put the CRs in. They're on that page. Okay, so bringing this to a close, it's you who create your precognition when you're doing your remote viewing session. And it is you who are doing retrocausality during your feedback session. It is all about you. That is so hackneyed, but I can't think of a much better example in a challenging area than this. Okay, ARV begins with the feedback session, causing in a retro causality way information entanglement, which you see during your remote viewing session. It's like a precognitive telepathy because it's mind to mind. It happens to be your mind at 2 different times. And your mind is different here than it was here. Your mind is always changing through time, right? So the idea of telepathy is really good. Now, this entanglement energy is available to you from your subby, your subconscious mind, working within the UCC. Your subby is in the UCC as well, and it has access to everything. Now, how much entanglement energy do you think you have access to in principle? It's basically infinite. In the last, I think it was the very last webinar I gave, talked about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And it really leads, when you think about what it does and how it all works, to the fact that you are almost, the key word is almost, godlike. I mean, you have essentially an infinite amount of potential entanglement energy available to you. So now it's learning how to control it, how to use it, how to get it to go where you want it to go. And this whole idea of strong, loving entanglements, they will follow your clear intentions, attention, and expectations about applying your entanglement energy. So this is what happens. I mean, you have this desire to do this entanglement, and you really want to make it strong. And that's what the entanglement energy will do. It will follow your clear instructions. Too often, there's other stuff down in the sub which counters what you might at your upper intellectual level, and even trying to do this as far down as you can in your subconscious. You know, there's stuff that goes back to your childhood that, you know, it's hard to kind of believe this, but it's sort of true, that you might not want to be a super big winner because it made somebody else really jealous of you. For example, I just made that one up. But you can imagine how about money? You might not want to be really good at this because you don't want to be rich like those awful rich guys that made their money dishonestly. There's just stuff down there. and put it all in that private area. It might be unknown unknowns, but know that there's stuff there which can stop your intentions and expectations from being as clear as possible. But while you're doing all this, really, really work on being as clear as you can. Joseph Campbell, the goal of life is to match your heartbeat to the beat of the universe. Love that, to tie it all together. And then I wish for all of us, especially going into 2019, but really for our entire lives, healthy, wealthy, and filled with wisdom. Thank you very much. And any comments or questions, I'm happy to entertain them now.
Thank you, Marty.
Thank you
Happy
very
New
much,
Year.
Marty.
Thank you. Happy New
Happy
Year. Okay. Nothing in particular. At the end of 3 hours, I think maybe it's enough, but I am here and will stay if there are any questions.
I just have one comment, Marty. This did not feel like 3 hours to me.
Well, thank you. Okay.
So, yeah, it just didn't.
Yeah.
Good.
It was enjoyable.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
I would add that it looked like about 100 years for me of learning.
There is that old expression of being water from a fire hose or something. A lot of information for brand newbies, but this will be recorded so you can watch it again later. I mean, it is recorded, and I will put the link out there to it. Also, there are related ones which you can go to. Plus, if you want to know my number one suggestion, jump in and start doing ARV. And as you do it and then relate back to all of this, it all comes together, and you'll have fun and keep learning.
Just to clarify, you already answered this question, but it's not clear. It doesn't matter whether I send the transcript with or without my self-judging marks, A, B, and so on, or do you prefer me to send them without the judging marks?
Actually, when you're self-judging, okay, you can't put the marks on there. Only independent judges can do that. Because let me make sure you understand. When you're a self-judged, you go to that page. We can get it. Which you saw where you get your here. Yeah. No, wait. That's the tasking page, right? Right. Here, from this page, then you get to this page with your coordinate. The next thing you do is your transcript, and then you have to upload the transcript. So if you're a self-judge, all you can do is upload your transcript without the ABs. As an independent judge, now let me tell you what a viewer does who has an independent judge. At this point, they see this, they do their transcript, right? So they've done their transcript. They then send the transcript to their judge. Their judge then can do the A/B and upload it. But the way you do independent judging is the viewer sends the transcript to the judge then uploads it, because only then can he see the two pictures, and then he judges it.
Okay.
Okay? So the answer is... Okay, so you understand that. So and I think you're doing self-judging, at least for now, so you would have to send up your transcript before the ABs.
So I'll send this present one, this that we did today without the ABs, right? Okay.
Correct. And then about a month from now, a month from now, wait a second. A month from now, you'll get in an email, or we'll talk about it here, an email that will show you the correct outcome. So, but that's going to be a month from now. But I suggest
Okay,
you
thank you.
jump into one of the groups right now and start doing them. Those are short term. Those you get results in a matter of days. Okay.
All right.
Question? One last
Yep.
question.
Sure. Should know as many as you guys have.
So, Marty, based on what you've seen so far, would you go ahead and make a little wager on the U.S. Aussie and wait and see what happens for the month?
Oh, thank you. Gosh. Okay, let's go back to that. I never did my own personal prediction. So thank you for reminding me about that. So here we are, and I've got, see, obviously, and this happens more often than any of us would like, but I've got 2 no's at the level of 3.5 and 4, and 1 yes at the level of a 5. Yeah. So as a group manager, I'm going to pass. Again, I'm following my own advice. I just don't want misses.
Right.
However, let me say that if Fire Soul Rider and would go, and she would do, Lila would do a yes, and she might very well want to trade in the yes direction, while CF might go in the other direction. I always recommend you be true to your own predictions. Now, you may want to turn it into a pass because of what you've seen here, but that's intellectual. Think about it from the deeper self. Wouldn't it like to know that you're trusting it? Even though I know one of these people are going to be misses, I think you ought to go with your own. Definitely not, don't go by the group. Go with your own. Give it more credit than the group. Okay?
Would you give somebody who is highly experienced in this group extra credit then, maybe?
Yes. I would. If I knew their track record and stuff like that, I would do that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for a wonderful presentation, and I'm glad to be part of your group now.
Well, and you're very welcome, and thank you for being part of the group. I, as you probably have picked up, have a passion for all of this.
Yeah.
So. Okay, so the prediction is a pass. This is how I put it in as a group manager. And that's it. Okay, any other questions? I really don't want to cut this short. If there are any other questions, you should
I have
share
a
them
question,
now.
actually.
Good.
Yeah, this is Alex. I was wondering, I wasn't able to listen to everything tonight because it's, I mean, I was busy with other things, but I did notice you mentioned a Google group you have, like to get the links and all the stuff.
Yes.
No?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're not yet even getting the general discussion stuff out.
That was my question. What do you do in there? I mean,
go to our website. You know our website, right?
Yeah.
Applied Precog.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that website, in several places, we have the ability to leave a message. In fact, here, let me open it myself. It's just don't remember exactly where all this stuff is.
No, you don't have to just tell me. I will find it.
Yeah, yeah.
If
Well,
it's somewhere on this
it's right.
website, I will find it.
Exactly. And I think the easiest place to get it is probably membership.
Okay, so I have to ask to join?
Exactly. That's all you have to. In fact, if you were to send me an email and say join, I would then send it off to Julie, who takes care of all that.
Okay, but my
So,
question is, can
here
I?
it is, right there, right here.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's under the membership tab, and if
Okay,
you want
okay.
like a financial group or a sports group, she'll put you in that. And as a free member, you get to go in one group. As a paid member, you can go into as many groups as you want. 5 groups. Some people like to do one every day.
And you guys train viewing with in the group? That's it? Or do you have some discussion or some stuff like
The
this?
group manager sometimes does that, but generally the training is coming from me and most of the free webinars that I've done.
Okay, because I'm asking because I want to learn, but it's difficult to find stuff. I mean, there is a lot of stuff, but when it doesn't work, you don't know what to do.
Well, and that's why we have these classes. I mean, that's what every one of my classes are for. We also have an FAQ, which answers some of those questions. But if you look at the free webinar, free pass webinars, the titles will give you an idea if there's something in particular that you want to look up. In fact, here's your subconscious mind. Anyway, there is a lot of information out there, but the way to do it is to jump in, and then when you have a question, send the question to the general discussion group, which she will put you in. You get put into that.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Martin. Thank you.
Okay. You're very welcome. Anybody else? Okay. Thank you all, and keep precogging. And I'll stop this now. Keep precogging.
Thank you, Marty. Bye-bye.
Bye.